Hello and welcome back to the Snag Sport podcast. I'm your host, Tin, and joining me as always is Sheza. Sheza, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. We've got a big list of sports to cover. There's been a lot of big stories, so we'll get into it right away. Starting off with the UCL final. Man City beat Inter Milan 1-0. It was a great watch for 5 a.m. in the morning, actually. Rodri scored the winner in the 68th minute. So, Sheza, what was your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, look, it was a bit of a cagey game. Not probably the most exciting for a neutral fan, but you've come to expect that in UCL finals. It's a tight game. No one wants to make that mistake that could cost them the game. So I was fine with it being a 1-0, a cagey tight game. Inter impressed me. I thought, yeah, they were the underdogs, but they gave it a good fight. I was impressed by DeMarco, their left back. I reckon he was their player of the game, or except for maybe Andre Onana as well. Their goalie, he had played well. Unfortunately, they couldn't really capitalise on their chances, and that's kind of what let them down in the end. But obviously, congratulations to Manchester City. Incredible team, incredible. They've won the treble now. Only the second English team to do that. We'll get into that soon. But yeah, it was a good win for City. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was I thought it was a good watch. It was definitely a very tactical battle. It was very cagey and a very tight game. Of course, obviously, like everyone thought City would be the favorites going in. But yeah, I think it was a great game. Inter really were impressive. I mean, it shows that they really did deserve to be there at the UCL final. I know some people really sort of like didn't really give them a chance. Sort of had a look at their run and thought that they kind of had an easy run there. But I reckon they really proved that they deserve to be there, and I think they'd be really proud of their efforts.
Yeah, I think they would be as well. Look, they couldn't get the win. Obviously, I think maybe some finishing let down the end. Lautaro Martinez had a couple of chances. Lukaku had some good chances. It's probably why they didn't get over the line, but I'm sure they'll bounce back. They're one of the best teams in Serie A. They could go for the title next year. They could make another one in the UCL. Who knows? But as for City, just congratulations to them. Hats off. You've got to respect a team like that. It all comes down to every inch of every part of the team is so perfect for that Manchester City side, and he's got help in the mind. There's great players all over the pitch. They've got an incredible manager, Pep Guardiola. He's created an incredible formation, the 3-2-4-1, which will happen again. He's got John Stones playing in holding midfield, and he had the most dribbles in that map. I think he had 6. So that's incredible to get a centre back play holding midfield and having them almost being your key playmaker. Obviously, it was the other holding midfielder, Rodri, who scored the winner. He's been an incredible signing for them. Ruben Diaz was man of the match, another incredible signing of players that they weren't necessarily big names when they joined. They just showed up and they really started working almost straight away. I think Rodri and Diaz are probably the two best examples of that. So yeah, hats off to City. Incredible team, incredible manager, just incredible all around really.
Yeah, you really have to be proud of their efforts this season. I mean, it's always felt like it's been a long time coming. So to see them finally get the Champions League that they've probably deserved for a long time now, it's good to see for the team. For those people who've stuck with the team for so long, it's definitely a good thing to see for Man City.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, I just did want to mention one other thing though. I thought the atmosphere was actually pretty good. I think Manchester City get a lot of slack for their fans, empty hand jokes, all of that. But look, I was really happy with the atmosphere. I thought City fans obviously turned up great. Inter fans, they were great. You could actually hear it on the TV, and yeah, just a really impressive showing from all fans. I think there was a bit of trouble getting to the stadium or something. So hopefully that all got hurt there. Hopefully no one seriously got hurt from that. I don't think there was anyone, but no, I thought the fans were brilliant. And yeah, as you mentioned, Manchester City, congratulations to them. So should we move on to our next topic now? You've got the Nations League semi-final. So do you want to start us off with that?
Yeah, so obviously both the CONCACAF and UEFA had their Nations League semi-finals over the international break. So in the CONCACAF, the USA beat Mexico 3-0 in a very intense game and a game that you've probably seen on your online feed for a very actually a very surprising reason. And Canada beat Panama 2-0, which was a pretty stock standard result. Then in UEFA, Spain beat Italy 2-1, and Croatia beat the Netherlands 4-2. So, Shazza, what do you think about some of these results? We'll talk about the USA Mexico one because that's probably one of the bigger, more interesting games. So, what do you think about that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm Australian, so I'm not really too big on the whole CONCACAF team. I don't really watch many CONCACAF games, but USA Mexico, you just really have to be there, don't you? It's incredible football rivalry, especially it's so diverse in the way the two teams work. Where Mexico, they play soccer or football their entire life, and the USA is like pit sport. So two completely different football and cultures, and they always come together. They always put up such a massive fight, and we saw that again in this one. It was very cagey. I think there were, I want to say, three red cards, or definitely, I think Weston McKennie got sent off. I know that. I think there was another fight. I know Mexico definitely had a red card. It was Sergi Dest and then Montez and Arteaga for Mexico. So there were four red cards throughout that one, which was incredible. But as for the goals, man, Christian Pulisic, he's just a different player when he plays for the USA, Captain America. He scored two brilliant goals. Could have had a hat trick. He missed a chance, but made up for by scoring two more. He was the player of the match, and Pepe got the third. So yeah, good job from Pepe. I think I like him. I think he's a good player. He was unlucky to miss out on that USA World Cup squad back in November, but no, he showed he could be there. I think he came off bench, scored it. So yeah, he makes another good option for Greg Berhalter's side. And then you got the other game, Canada versus Panama, and Canada won that one 2-0. Now, I will admit I haven't seen as much of that one, but I do know that the goal scorers for Canada were Jonathan David and Alfonso Davies. They're two main key players, and just looked like a good win from Canada. Obviously, they were the favourites. Panama, it's probably not as good as they were 5 years ago, but still a good team. So shout out to Canada for winning that one. And yeah, I'll probably tune in for the final. It's 10:30 a.m. for the Australians where I live. So on a Monday, so it's not really the best time slot. But I'll try to catch a highlight, especially USA Canada. Ever since Canada's rise, it really has been another growing rivalry in the CONCACAF. So I'll try to tune in for it. I'm not sure who wins it. USA are also going to miss McKennie and Dest, so that'll be tough for them. Some of their aggressiveness might come back to hurt them, but either way, it should be a good game. What do you make of the CONCACAF semi-finals in the Nations League?
Yeah, I thought they were pretty good games. Obviously, there was a lot to take out of them. Like you said, Pulisic and Pepe were really, really good for the USA, but I don't think Mexico didn't go without their chances. I think Mexico really had a couple of really good chances. And of course, Canada proved themselves to be one of the up and coming nations once again. I mean, they just look so good these days. They looked really excellent. If you look at the stats, it was actually quite an even game against Panama. So, I didn't get to watch it because there aren't really rights for CONCACAF games here in Australia. But yeah, it was a really great game, and Canada really took their chances, and it really proved off that they are definitely one of the up and coming nations. And I'm really excited to see when they play the USA. They'll be, I mean, that's almost a really massive game in CONCACAF now. I mean, that you've got arguably one of the traditional powerhouses of CONCACAF, you could argue, and an up and coming nation. So that is going to be massive game. And obviously 10:30 a.m. like you said, I'm gonna have to find some way to watch it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think USA Canada should be a great match. You've got, like you mentioned, USA. Sure, we mock them because they call it soccer and they seem to bottle it every now and again. But no, they are probably, aside from Mexico, the biggest CONCACAF team. Whereas Canada, they were like 119th in the world or something only 10 years ago. So their rise, ever since Alfonso Davies and Jonathan David have gone on the scene, has been incredible. They've got some good players. USA maybe is slightly strong on paper. You look at Pulisic, you look at obviously Tyler Adams, Yunus Musa. You've got Weah and even Ballion, who made his debut for the USA against Mexico. If he can maybe score a goal, he's probably, in terms of form, he probably had the best season out of any USA player. So if he can adjust to this style of play and score a goal or two, then that could help Canada win. But so that should help the USA win. But either way, it should be a good game. So I think we'll move on now to the European Nations League and UEFA. This was also a pretty good match. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so I actually managed to watch Croatia versus Netherlands live. I enjoyed it. It was definitely a great contest between two really good teams. Obviously, a bit of a thriller. There were three goals past the there was a goal past the 90th minute. There was an equalizer to send it to extra time, and from the Netherlands, and it was really good. Obviously, Modric got the game-winning penalty. Petkovic was really, really good for Croatia. And yeah, it was a really excellent watch. And I think Croatia really proved themselves as an excellent team. I know you don't. That they've made two good runs in the World Cup in the past. Now, I'd expect them to do well in the Euros when that rolls around. But yeah, it's really good to see Croatia do well because I think they are one of the best teams in Europe on their best day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you mentioned, Croatia, they did well in the 2018 World Cup. People looked at that, oh, nice underdog run. They did it again in 2022, and then kind of put people on notice that this team is actually serious. And I know no one really cares about the Nations League as much as they do the World Cup, but this is the third tournament where Croatia have made the semi-final, and the second one where they've got all the way to the final. So, do you actually look at this maybe as this isn't just an underdog run? This is an actual team who are breaking out onto the scene who could actually compete and then maybe eventually win a tournament in the next few years. Because I mean, this isn't the same Croatia side that made the 2018 final at all. I mean, Rakitic is out of the team. Modric is still there, but he's like 37 now. They've lost Lovren. They've got a new keeper with Livakovic. I think was Sebastic their keeper for 2018. I believe he was. So, guys like Kovacic, he was there, but he's definitely stepped up. And yeah, there's pretty good team Croatia. They've obviously got some good players in, and hopefully they continue to go on and maybe try to win the Nations League because I like Croatia. They're a good team. I've always liked an underdog side, and we're trying to see maybe this Croatia team is an underdog side, but either way, very happy for them to go to the final. And let's get to the second semi-final. This one was between Spain and Italy, two massive teams. Spain ended up winning it with a very late goal from Pozolu. It was a 2-1 win. What do you make of this one?
I didn't get to see this one live, but yeah, that was an. But from what I gather, it looks like it was an excellent game. I mean, obviously Spain are a classy team. They are definitely always one of the better teams in Europe. They're usually always up there in the World Cup conversation and the Euros conversation. So to see them proving themselves here against Italy, who they've got a lot to fight for. They've missed the last two World Cups. They'll be it was always going to be a good challenge for Spain. So to put themselves out like this a year before the Euros too is really really good. And I think that does a lot to boost their Euros chances.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I actually thought Italy were going to win this one. I thought, sure they missed the last two World Cups, but a lot of people have forgotten it. But I still remember that Italy team from the Euro 2021, and I know the team's a bit different now, but the way they played in that Euro run, I thought they were one of the best teams in the world. That's why I was so shocked when they missed out on the World Cup. But no, I thought they were going to win this one, and they did not. It was a very late goal from Hosler, I believe the 80th minute. He'd come on as a sub 4 minutes earlier. He's having a bit of a revival, is for Hosler. Not sure if anyone's noticing, but he's outside Real Madrid after leaving them like maybe 10 years ago or something. So shout out to him at like 33. He's having a bit of a revival. But no, Spain and Croatia will be the final. And that should be a good game. I believe we saw that. I don't think we're making things up. But we've definitely seen this matchup even outside of the World Cup before. So two teams who know each other. They probably play very similar, very midfield based. They try to dominate the game with their passes. Obviously, Spain have been doing that for years now, tiki-taka football. And Croatia have Modric. Of course, they're going to try to do it like that. So it should be a good matchup, very even. Spain might have the better team on paper, but, you've just learned at this point to never count Croatia out. So what do you think about the upcoming final?
I think it'll be a good game. I think it's a really good matchup. I think it's what the UEFA Nations League was made for. Just something so that the teams that you don't usually see at the end of the Euros or at the end of the World Cup, like giving them a chance to really compete. So I'm happy to see it. I know there's a big Croatian community in Australia, especially in Melbourne too. So I'm pretty sure if Croatia win, there will be absolute scenes back home here too. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I. Well, I think that just about covers our Nations League roundup. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about the Socceroos national team. We've got the under 23s, they played Panama. The under 17s played Saudi Arabia. The Matildas, they might get a public holiday if they win. And of course, they win the World Cup. And of course, Australia versus Argentina in China. We'll talk about that one first. What do you make of the Australia versus Argentina match where the Socceroos lost 2-0 to Argentina?
I mean, yeah, the result isn't great, but I think a lot of people came in with a mentality that it wasn't going to be a game about the result. I mean, when you look at the squad, when you look at, we were missing Moy, we were missing Irvine, we were missing a lot of the big pieces, and we were playing a lot of really young players. It was never going to be about the result. Always just going to be about, getting those new younger players into the system and, trying these tactics out. So all in all, I'm not too fussed about the result, but yeah, I think we looked really good out there, especially that first half. We were definitely getting some really good chances. Jordan Boss had a really good cross into I think it was Mitch Duke, and he just hit the post. I reckon. I think it was. I think we really did prove ourselves. We are a good footballing nation, and we really did. We didn't do it. We really did ourselves well against Argentina. Of course, you can't go talking about Argentina without talking about Messi and how he scored that goal in the first minute or something like that. I think it was a minute 20 seconds. I barely sat down and he'd already scored, which is actually quite ridiculous when you think about it. But yeah, it just proves that Messi is somehow still going at 36 years old, and I think he'll be really good in the MLS. It'll be really good to see what he does in these last couple of years. It's proof that he can still go for a couple of years. He might play Copa America. I think he said he's not going to play in the World Cup, but yeah, he might play in that Copa America. But we'll see how it goes. Really, I think it's been a great game. It was a great game, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Look, it would have been nice to beat Argentina, get a bit of revenge for the round of 16 back in the World Cup. But either way, I'm proud of the boys. It was a decent showing. Like you mentioned, it was important to get some of the younger talent out there. I think Geordie Boss being the main one. I've loved him, loved watching him as a Melbourne City fan. And I do think he's, our left back for the future. Obviously, as is Behic, well, I don't think he's even in the squad. He's getting a bit older. We need a new left back. And I think Jordan Boss is the man to take that role. We looked okay. Like you mentioned, first half we had our chances. We maybe showed Argentina, we shocked them. I think even for some neutrals watching them, I think a lot of people thought once Messi scored in the second minute that they were going to roll over us and win 9-0. But we took it up to them once they got that first goal. We gave some chances, like you mentioned. Jordan Boss had a decent cross. He played well, I reckon. Look, the striking partnership of Mitch Duke and McLaren, I suppose, could have been better, but yeah, no, we'll learn. So it was only for me, so I'm okay with the result. Yeah, so why don't we move on now to the Motorvello tournament, where the Australian under 23s played the Panamanian or Panama under 23s in the semi-finals. Unfortunately, we did not get a good result. We lost 2-1 in the semis. So, what do you make of this for our boys in that showing? And so, David, what do you think of Panama? Because I mean, no one expected Panama to get this far. So now you can mention them as well. But firstly, what do you think of our boys in this unfortunate loss in the semis?
I mean, I don't think anyone expected Australia to go this far either, to be fair. But yeah, it was a good watch. Panama were actually quite good. I think they were moving the ball really well. They had some really really good chances, and they really took them. I think that's why they got ahead. I mean, both teams really had their chances, but Panama they just moved the ball so well, and when the time came, they took their chances, and yeah, they got up. I mean, Panama as a team are Panama's young team is really really good, and like you said, no one really gave them much of a chance coming into the tournament. But so it's good to see them make a good run. They're into the final now. I'm not sure who they're playing, but yeah, it will be really good to see how they go. Oh, they're playing Mexico. That's interesting. All right.
Yeah, they'll play Mexico, a bit of a CONCACAF rivalry in that one. So that should be good, as if the Nations League didn't get us any enough of that. So, and Panama and Mexico also play each other in the CONCACAF Nations League's third place match. So, a lot of stuff happening between those two countries at the minute. But no, we'll focus on Australia. Like you mentioned, no one really expected us to get this far either. But I am proud of what they've shown. I think we've got a good future. I didn't get to watch as much of it as I'd like, unfortunately, but I still saw a bit of it. I did see the highlights of the match against Panama. I thought Valupale, or how you say his name, I thought he was really good throughout the tournament. Cam Pupian, the Brighton player, I was impressed with him. I think he's got a big future ahead of him. And look, end of the day, it sucks we couldn't get to the final, but no, very proud of the boys. It was a good showing throughout the tournament. Make it out of the group stages, going all the way to the semis. So yeah, the future of Australia is bright. We've got, like I said, Boss was playing in the Australia Argentina game, but there's a lot more players throughout this game that showed us that maybe Australia does have a bright future in football, which would be great. Now, there was also the under 17s Asian Cup where we played Saudi Arabia. So, do you want to take away this one as well?
Yeah, so obviously it wasn't a positive result. We got down. We lost 2-0 to Saudi Arabia. I mean, it was an interesting game. You could argue that Australia did look really good. We definitely had good chances, but I think it comes down to the fact that as far as Australian junior teams don't go, they don't really get to play very often. Um, Obviously there's some really good individual talent in there. Obviously you can't look past Iran Kunda, who I think is the captain. But yeah, they the under 17s individually they're very very talented, but compared to some of the smaller nations like Saudi Arabia and nations like Vietnam and Thailand, those smaller nations that play a lot of their football. Some of these junior teams in Australia, in comparison, don't really play much games. So the players often don't really have a very good like chemistry together. They don't really get like have a good understanding of how each other play. So yeah, we don't usually end up going very well in these junior tournaments as far as team play goes. So yeah, it's definitely not great, but I think I'm not sure what our next game is, but I think we're definitely still a chance to do well if we can string a couple of results together. But yeah, it's definitely not a great result.
Yeah, like you said, we've always been a bit rubbish. We'll just put it like that. We've always been a bit rubbish in the junior tournaments. If you think all the way back to I think 2007, Ange Postecoglou had a meltdown in the junior tournaments. He ended up getting laughed on at Live TV. Obviously, saw that interview now. He's the top manager again. That was funny. But no, we held them off for the first half, Saudi Arabia. We looked okay, like you mentioned, Jan Kunda. He's our captain. He's obviously an incredible talent, definitely going to be a future Socceroo. I thought he did okay. I've only seen the highlights from this one. I didn't get to watch the whole match, but I thought they did okay. The under 17 boys, we conceded 2 goals in the second half through Al Bishri and Al Jadani. Both look like they're good players. And look, credit to Saudi Arabia. They were the better team on the day. They deserved the win. And as they've shown throughout the last decade or so, they're one of the best teams in Asia. And with the way their league's going, they could get even better because I'm sure a lot of kids are going to love watching Ronaldo and Benzema and Kante. So Saudi Arabia could be a team to watch out for in the future, as if they're not already. But move on now to our final part of the national team roundup. We've got a bit of Matilda's news as the Women's World Cup gets closer, which we're hosting. Anthony Albanese, our Prime Minister, has all but promised a public holiday if the Matildas get up and win the tournament. So this is a nice little way to end off the national team roundup. What do you think of this?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty good. I'm sure those who follow the Matildas will be egged on a little more, and even in a extremely shallow way, those who maybe won't care about the Matildas usually or won't care about soccer, maybe they'll feel the need to pick up the flag a little and cheer for the Matildas if at a very shallow level they get a day off. But I think it's a good thing. It definitely helps raise interest in the team at an absolute minimum. So I think it'll be a good thing. I'm looking forward to see how deep the Matildas go. I think we're one of the favourites, which is really good when you've got a home World Cup. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, just a bit of fun, isn't it? I'm not going to get too political, but I do like Albanese. He seems like he knows what he's doing. So yeah, free public holiday, winning the tournament, why not? I think that's fair. And especially if like by the time that public holiday, the like girls go to Fed Square or wherever. So that'd be good to see the players and really celebrate what they've done, especially for the bigger fans of football in this country. So they obviously do have to win it first. So we'll have to see how that goes. We've got a decent group. I think Canada, Nigeria, and Ireland are in the group. I want to say that. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. But no, that'd be nice. So we'll move on now to our game of the week, which was a J League game. The Yokohama F Mariners, they beat Kashiwa Reysol 4-3. I'm not great with the pronunciation. So what do you take away this segment? What happened here?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, Yokohama Marinos beat Kashiwa Reysol 4-3 in a very, very crazy game. So from an Australian point of view, Yokohama Marinos, they're managed by Kevin Muscat and they were formerly managed by Ange Postecoglou. And they won the J League Championship last year. So this was a really important game because I believe Vissel Kobe, who were top of the table, they gave away a late winner to Cerezo Osaka. So if Marinos won, they would have jumped to the top of the table. So they really needed to take this game. So Lopez scored the first goal, a 13th minute penalty, and and Dudu from Marinos scored an own goal. Elba scored a 41st minute goal to take the lead. Then Toshima scored to equalize for Reysol. Then J. Roy Grott scored in the 72nd minute, and then to take a 3-2 lead. And then out of nowhere, out of nowhere, Anderson Lopez scores in the 90th plus 4 minute to equalize, and then Sachiro Toshima scored to take the game. And now Marinos are top of the table in the J League in what was a very important game, what proved to be an absolutely wild game, actually. And yeah, so I don't know if you got to watch the game, but what do you think? It's a massive game, it's a massive result, and what is it? And how good is it for a team when they fight back at the brink of death when it's so important when it's for the top of the table?
Yeah, well, it was quite the game, wasn't it? I did see the highlights once you recommended we talk about this one on the podcast. So looks like a good game, incredible limbs at the end for Marinos to get those final 2 goals. As you mentioned, they're now on top of the table, 1 point ahead of Nagoya. It would have been nice for Kashiwa to get the win. I'm not sure exactly where they are. Oh, they've got them. Okay, so that was almost a good result for them to at least put a bit of fight to their team. So shout out to them. But like you mentioned, a good result for Yokohama. It was a good game to watch. I only saw the highlights as I mentioned, but no, seemed good. Shout out to Lopez for those 2 goals, especially the equaliser, and then the own goal from Shima, obviously, to tie it up. Look, it's what football's all about, isn't it? Those late moments, those late comebacks, the late goals, the limbs we see. It's what we love about the game. So yeah, and I'm watching it more J League at the minute once now the European and the A League's over. So Yeah, I've enjoyed this one. I like the Mariners, obviously managed by Muscat. So yeah, just a good game really. And shout out to Mariners for winning that one. So if that's all, do you want to move on to the Australian Cup qualifiers now?
Yeah, we'll move on then to the Australian Cup. So more results have come through. We are getting more qualifiers and more teams are making it in. So we're still in the seventh round. We've still got some games to play. Victoria now has all five of its qualifiers. So um, joining Goulburn Valley Suns and Heidelberg United will be the Oakley Cannons, who beat Geelong 5-0 in a bit of a drab. Northcote City beat Clifton Hills 5-4 on penalties, which was actually an exciting game to watch live. Melbourne Knights, I was in attendance for this game. Actually, it was an interesting game. Melbourne Knights beat the fifth division Yarraville Glory 3-1. Actually, Yarraville got up 1-0 in the 1-0 at first, and it was looking like there was going to be a massive cup set. But yeah, Melbourne Knights got up. They're one of the traditional powerhouses, so it's good to see them. Um, New South Wales still has some games to play, but Mount Druitt Town Rangers, Sydney United 58, APL Leichhardt and Inter Lions are through. Obviously, there's still some games to play in the Northern New South Wales Football Federation. They've still got two games to play. Broadmeadow Magic and Maitland FC will play each other, and Newcastle Olympic and Edgeworth FC will play to determine the spots. They're both in the top division of the Northern New South Wales NPL. The Northern Territory has its final game, I believe, today. Hellenic Athletic will be playing Verdi FC. I believe Queensland has one last spot to sort out. Gold Coast Knights and Edge Hill United will be playing tonight. And Western Australia still has two games to play to determine their spots. Inglewood United will play Sorrento FC, and Coburn City will play Floreat Athena. So, still some spots to sort out. Some good teams have made it through. We've got Northcote City from the third division who will be in, which is really good to see. Like we mentioned last week, Goulburn Valley Suns from the fourth division will be there. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how this Australia Cup goes. We've got some good teams.
Yeah, like you mentioned, there's some good teams up there. I believe there's a few A-League games on tonight. I want to mention, or maybe I'm wrong, or could be
I think
either
that's
way.
much.
But yeah, no, I believe there are. I haven't actually checked the fixtures, but I have seen the Victoria qualifiers. Thought they were good. Melbourne Knights, obviously, that was a good game. And yeah, look, I've just really enjoyed watching what I've seen so far. Obviously, get better once the A-League teams come in. It's maybe a bit of a debatable opinion, but I do think once you get some of those A-League teams in and competition gets more attention, it is probably a bit better. But that being said, I do love seeing the smaller teams get their chance to shine. So, look, no, it's been a good tournament. I think looking at some of the lower league teams who have made it this far, I'm not sure which one causes maybe the cup set of this year. I think Sydney United, they did it last year, made the final. Maybe they look all right. Canberra, Croatia, always been a big team. Metro Stars, perhaps. There's definitely some good teams there. Oakley Cannons FC is another one. Heidelberg United, Melbourne Knights, as I said, Peninsula. So there's a lot of good teams there who maybe could cause an upset to the A League, especially as we know the A League teams don't really take this tournament that seriously. So we'll have to see what happens. But look, either way, it's been a good tournament so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing the A League teams jump in and hopefully maybe see a cup or two like we saw last year. There was two semi-finals with two non-A League teams in it, so that was always a good watch, and hopefully maybe see that again this year because I did enjoy watching last year's tournament. But that is it for our football segment. We are going to move on now to the NBA where the finals are over. So I'll take this segment. It was the Denver Nuggets versus the Miami Heat. The Nuggets made it by sweeping the Lakers 4-0, and then the Heat got there. They almost folded against the Celtics. They were 3-0 up, they went 3-all tied, and then won game seven, luckily. So the Nuggets always had the advantage being well vested. Only played four games compared to Miami seven, but it was a good series. Denver won the first game, Miami won the second, and then Denver went on to win the next three. They won the finals 4-1. So no, not a big NBA fan. What do you think of this final series?
Yeah, it was a great series. I enjoyed watching it. There was there were some really good talking points that came out of the games. Obviously, Jokic was excellent as always. He ran away with the MVP. And yeah, it was a great watch. There was some really good play. The teams played really well. You could argue that Miami definitely had chances to win the game, but at the end of the day, the Nuggets they're just such an excellent team. They're just so well drilled, and yeah, they got up as they deservedly were supposed to. They definitely deserved it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it was a very cagey end. I watched the last quarter of game five. I watched the whole game of game five, but last quarter was obviously very cagey. I think we saw Jimmy Butler. He stood up. He had a rough first few three quarters, but no, last quarter he really did step up. Yeah, I think he had maybe 11 points now or something crazy like that. So he's an incredible player for form. You can't take that away from him. But shout out to the Nuggets. They deserve to be here. They would deserve to win this tournament. Jokic, he's raised his legacy to the next level now. He's got two MVPs, a ring. I don't think it's a crazy statement to say he's a top five center of all time at this point. I reckon maybe some agree with that, but some would disagree with that. But I don't reckon that's a crazy statement. I reckon you could say top five center of all time. You've got guys like Wilt, Bill Russell, Kareem, Shaq, Hakeem, and then maybe Jokic doesn't crack that list yet. But he should be there soon, I reckon, especially with another ring. Even like the guys like Jamal Murray, obviously the second option of that team, after tearing his ACL, he could have just quit. He could have gone to another team and just never been the same. But no, he came back, incredible performer, and it was a big reason why the Nuggets won. And then you just go down to like the role players in the team, like Aaron Gordon, Mark Porter Jr. I thought both had good series. Gordon was pretty consistent. MPJ maybe not so much, but still, I thought he did well, especially in Game Five. Then you look at the guys like Bruce Brown, you look at like Christian Brown, you look at guys like even like DeAndre Jordan. He did his thing when he went on. So a lot of Denver players on that list deserve. I mean, they all did their thing. Even guys who didn't really play much, like Ish Smith and Jeff Green, deserve it for all the effort they've put in over their very long career. So, congratulations to all the Nuggets. They all deserve it. Anything else you want to say on the finals?
No, not really. It was just it was a great series. I got to watch it because I think we mentioned it last week. It was on opposite days to the NHL. So yeah, I got to watch it and I really enjoyed what I saw.
Yeah, absolutely. And happy for Denver. Look, I'm a Sixers fan. I don't really like Jokic because he's always compared with Embiid, but no, he's an incredible player. He deserves this ring. He deserves everything he's gotten. And congratulations to him. Congratulations to the entire city of Denver because, yeah, they've earned it. So that was my segment. While we move on to the NHL, where the final series is also complete, and you can take this one because you're more of a hockey fan than me. So, what's been happening in the NHL?
Yeah, so the Stanley Cup Finals are now also over. It went down in very similar circumstances to the NBA. So Florida and Vegas played. So Florida got in by sweeping the Carolina Hurricanes, and Vegas got in by beating my Dallas Stars 4-2. So it was always going to be a really exciting Stanley Cup final series. He had a really hyped one seed who have they've been in the run for a Stanley Cup for a long time, pretty much since their inception, and Florida, who are looking to cause a bit of noise. They've already defeated the historic Boston Bruins. They got up over the Toronto Maple Leafs, who just made it past the first round for the first time, and they had just swept a extremely hyped Carolina Hurricanes team. So it was going to be a really exciting series, but uh, Vegas won the first two games, then Florida won the third one at home, and then Vegas won the next two to take the series. The last game was won 9-3 by Vegas. Jack Eichel had 3 assists on the night. Mark Stone, 3 goals, a hat trick, which is, I believe it's the first hat trick in Stanley Cup Finals history in 20 years or something like that, which is crazy. So, yeah, what do you think? What do you think about Vegas's performance? They've been in the running for a Stanley Cup final for a long time now. So, what do you think about it?
Yeah, look, I'm not a huge hockey fan. I try to watch most of the games, but look, like you mentioned, Vegas are an incredible team. Jack Eichel, his 3 assists. He had a very good game, especially in that including Game Five. Other guys like Mark Stone and Aiden Hill, just they've got a good team, and I think they deserved it. I enjoyed watching Game Three and Game Four. They were close. Game Three went to overtime. Game Four was pretty close right to the end. Obviously, Game Five was a bit of a blowout with the Knights getting up 9-3, but still, it was an enjoyable series. Congratulations to Vegas. Obviously, they've only been in the league for 6 years now. They were an expansion team back in 2017. And look, people can knock expansion teams that's no history and all that, but when the expansion team comes in and does well, not necessarily win it all, but just does well, it's good for the game because you put in a team like MacArthur in the A League or going all the way back, Vancouver Grizzlies in the NBA, and they don't work out and they're a laughing stock, then that's not a good look for the league. Whereas if we put in these teams like Vegas, who are going to contend and are going to become one of the best teams in the NHL, then yeah, that's really good for the game. That's really good for hockey. So congratulations to Vegas. They earned it, and yeah, they did really well. I enjoyed watching them throughout this series. So anything else you want to say on the NHL?
Yeah, it was obviously very good for Vegas. Like you mentioned, it's good to see expansion teams do well. They famously made the finals in their first year, but they got down to a really good Washington Capitals team. But yeah, there's some good players who really deserve to have won a cup. Mark Stone, who was their inaugural captain, he finally gets a cup. Jack Eichel, who after spending rotting his entire career in Buffalo, finally gets a Stanley Cup final after his first ever playoff run. Obviously, guys like Shea Theodore, William Carlson, Jonathan Marchessault, uh, it's good to see some of these people get their Stanley Cup. Some of them have waited really long time. Some of them have come out of teams that really have not contended. Like I said, Jack Eichel, who came out of the Buffalo Sabres, who haven't been great for a really long time now. To see them finally get the cups that they've deserved for a long time, it's really great to see, and I think a lot of people will be really happy with it.
All right, moving on to the next topic, we've got an update in the whole Oakland athletics fiasco. A lot of stuff has happened. There was the reverse boycott and an approval from the Nevada government. Tim's probably a bit more of a baseball fan than me, so you can take what you want, Tim. What's happening here?
So yeah, like you mentioned, the Oakland A's have been through a lot in the past 2 weeks. The Nevada government initially rejected the plans to build an arena or an arena. I say arena, I should say ballpark for the Oakland A's, and the fans spontaneously decided that they wanted to have a reverse boycott. They wanted to prove that they were not the problem. So instead of having an attendance of 200 for a game against the Tampa Bay Rays, there was an attendance of 27,000 in the Oakland Coliseum, which is massive. It's and pretty much they spent the whole game chanting stuff like "Oh, sell the team" and stuff. But what do you think? How good is it to see this attendance? What does a reverse boycott do for the team?
Yeah, look, there's two ways to approach this. Obviously, you can boycott, you can reverse boycott. As simple as that sounds, there's a choice to make. So obviously, the Oakland fans chose to reverse boycott. They all went there. They packed it out. Probably maybe the most upbeat that ballpark has been in years. And it was good to see the sell team chance. I believe I can't exactly remember what point it was. But I believe they all went silent for a bit and then started shouting "sell the team" all together. And that's a great way to get your point across. So it's hard whether you can. It's hard to tell whether that does more than actual boycott or not. Obviously, by doing a reverse boycott, you are giving money to the owner, so that does happen. But look, they've definitely made their point, get across more. So shout out to them, the fans. Look, the team has obviously had a rubbish year. They are 90 short. They're actually playing right now against the Phillies. They are bottom of the sixth, and the Phillies are winning 4-1. And this is a pretty mediocre Phillies team. So obviously the Oakland A's are having a rubbish year. They'll have two more games against the Phillies after this, but not doing well. I can obviously the Kansas City Royals also having a pretty poor year, but aside from them, every team is pretty clear of Oakland right now. So I think they've got to change something where that is, getting your ballpark, relocate, sell the team, whatever it is, just do something, change something because this clearly isn't working. And Oakland is a proud sporting city. I know that they have lost the Warriors and the Raiders in the last few years, which is almost why I don't want to see the Athletics relocate, just because I don't want that to happen to go from three sporting teams to none. Just not good for is it? So look, I'm not sure how this is going to pan out. There's a lot of things happening. I still think we're a few maybe weeks away from getting our conclusion, but no, hopefully for the sake of the A's, they can get up and maybe keep Team Oakland, just get a new ballpark or do anything, just try and change something because this is a proud baseball team. They haven't won a championship in 34 years. They've been waiting so long to find success they saw back in the 70s and 80s, and it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. So, yeah, what do you make of all this?
Yeah, it's definitely really a tough situation for one of the most proud and one of the most historic teams in baseball. Obviously, the Athletics have given so much for baseball. They have some of them. They've had some of the most famous players. They've had some really famous stories. Obviously, one of the most known outside of America is the whole Moneyball thingy. So obviously, it's not the ideal situation, especially when you consider it's one of their most historic teams. It's a bit like when the AFL lost Fitzroy in the '90s. It's a team that, while historically have never been one of the biggest teams or have never been one of the best teams, they carry a lot of history. So I think Major League Baseball is a lot worse off without Oakland. So it'll be if something happens and they end up staying, I think there'll be a lot of cheers around the league, but yeah, if they do move to Vegas, which is what it's looking like now that the Nevada state government has approved that ballpark, it's definitely going to be a sad day for baseball, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely will. I mean, if I'm an Oakland fan and I support both the Raiders and the A's, and Vegas have taken both of them away from me in the last 3 years, I'd be pretty pissed. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. But as you mentioned, it does look pretty likely now. Look, the A's, they've just not a very good team, are they? Let's just call it what it is. They're having a rough season, so something's got to change, whether that is selling the team, whether that is getting a new ballpark in Oakland, or whether that is just even moving to Vegas. Something has to change so this proud team can get back on top. But with that being said, I'm an Angels fan. We're in the same. We're both in the AL West, so if they don't get back to the top, I suppose that suits me fine. Anyway, we will move on now to the. We'll move on to a bit of tennis. So Novak Djokovic, the French Open has been happening. I believe Djokovic won the French Open. So what can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so Djokovic got up in the men's singles tournament of the French Open in what is another classic Djokovic performance. He got up 3 sets to nothing. The first set was actually really close. It went down to a tiebreaker, which ended up going 7-1, which is interesting. But yeah, obviously it was against Casper Ruud, who has proved himself as a really good talent in tennis recently. Obviously, Novak Djokovic is obviously one of the stars. I think he's moved up to 26 Grand Slams, which puts him at equal second for most Grand Slam wins ever by any tennis player of any gender. I believe he is first for males now, or at least tied first. So yeah, he's just proved himself as another excellent, as as one of the excellent tennis players again. He's proved himself as a legend, and he's definitely in that conversation now for sure.
Yeah, look, I think when it comes to men's tennis, it's either Nadal, Federer, or Djokovic pick your side. There probably are some better players from back in the day, maybe, but I don't really know much about the history of tennis. So I'm more of a modern fan. Like you mentioned, it was a good game. That obviously first set where it went to a tiebreaker was good tennis to watch. And look, Casper, he did okay. He obviously got Djokovic to that tiebreaker. Kind of fell away in the second set, and then yeah, he gave it his all in the third set. Just wasn't enough. But I do like him. He's a good player, but obviously maybe just Djokovic's experience was what got him over the line in this one. But as you mentioned, 26 Grand Slams. It's an incredible feat. I'm not sure if you saw the women's final, but as for that, that was also on the day before the men's. And that was the world's number one, Iga Swiatek from Poland. She beat Carolina Mashova in a 6-4 on the final set. It was a 2-1 win. So congratulations to her. Obviously, number one for a reason. She's one of the best women's tennis players in the world. And in women's tennis, in a bit of a weird position right now. Ash Barty retired, Serena Williams retired. Naomi Osaka hasn't really played much. So they do need a new star. And I think Swiatek can easily become that if she hasn't already. She's done incredible now for a while. Only 22. She's got plenty of better for her. So yeah, congratulations to her and congratulations to Federer. It was a good tournament to watch on clay, and I believe the US Open starts soon, so we can see a bit more tennis
Actually,
action.
Wimbledon is next month, so yeah, that's what's coming
Wimbledon,
up next.
not Wimbledon. Yeah, Wimbledon's actually before US Open, so Wimbledon first and the US Open. So plenty of time, plenty of stuff to watch if you're a tennis fan, which I'll certainly tune into. So yeah, I'll move on now to Netball Australia. Now will admit I'm not. You know a bit more about this than I do, but there was apparently a agreement where they almost down going to the World Cup. So do you want to explain this one?
So yeah, the Women's Netball World Cup is just a month away, and pretty much there was a whole crazy fiasco. So most sports have a thing called a contract bargaining agreement or a CBA. It's basically a big document that says, oh, it's pretty much it's a bunch of union stuff. It's basically how much will players get paid, what rights will players have, and stuff like that. It's basically a bunch of employee stuff. It's like a contract you sign when you start a job. And basically there was a bit of back and forth about this CBA between the players and the body the ruling body and they're starting to reach the end of the CBA. They're trying to negotiate a new one, but pretty much Netball Australia went out and said, "Oh, if you guys don't agree to a CBA, we're not going to release the team that we've selected." And so basically, it's been one massive back and forth fiasco. I believe they've reached an agreement now to announce the teams on Monday, but yeah, it's definitely a really weird situation. So I'd just like to ask, what are your thoughts on it, Shazza? It's definitely a interesting situation for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. Glad we finally got to agreement. For a while there, it definitely wasn't looking good. Look, Australia, one of the biggest netball countries in the world. I think we're number one in the rankings right now. And netball's kind of in a rough spot recently. Collingwood pulled their license in the Women's Super League or whatever it's called. So the netball leagues that wasn't good at all. And then you've got this happening. You've got the can't get a go the TBA. awful. So the tournament is in South Africa, starts in a month. So I'm glad we have finally gotten to this point, but it's just a bit embarrassing, just for everyone involved. I think, like for the rest of the other countries going to the tournament to see such a fiasco happening, and we're the number one team in the world. You've got to wonder what's happening. Like, what is going on? Why are we at risk now? Or, like, is this maybe a team that is vulnerable now? Like, we haven't released our squad yet, so we don't know who's going. But you've got to imagine this does maybe take an effect on the players, and maybe we don't get as good a result as we'd hope in the upcoming World Cup. So, look, I'm glad we finally come to an agreement, but it's just disappointing, isn't it, that we couldn't this happened first. But yeah, no, like you mentioned, we've finally got to a point. So, anything else you want to add on this?
Yeah, it's definitely not a great situation. Obviously, we mentioned baseball before. I'm a baseball fan. Last year they had their lockout over the contract bargaining agreement. They went 99 days without baseball. But yeah, so it's definitely not a position any sport wants to be in. It definitely happens a lot more in the US where the contract bargaining agreements are definitely much more important parts to the sport. But yeah, it's definitely not a good situation for any sport to be in. So yeah, I'm glad it's over, or at least hopefully it's over, and yeah, hopefully we can take it to the World Cup now, and hopefully we can put in a good fight and obviously challenge for the World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move on now. We've got a bit more to cover. The Ashes, they have started over in England. I've watched day one. It was good. It was, a good fight. First team did okay. Australia currently trailing by 379 runs. This day two will begin at 8 o'clock tonight in Australia. We're currently batting, obviously. So, what have you made of the whole, Ashes day one? What do you think of it?
Yeah, so I actually watched ended up watching the whole day, which was not good for my sleep, but yeah, I ended up doing it, and it was a good watch. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about the pitch. It's a very flat pitch, and the bowl doesn't seem to be doing very much. So it was always a pitch that I was going to be a little more towards England sort of style. That positive baseball batting. Uh, but yeah, obviously that first ball from Pat Cummins went for four. It was a big message to send from England. Obviously, we remember 2 years ago when the first ball from Mitchell Stark went and took out Rory Burns' leg stump. So to go out and send a message and say we're going to take your game, we're going to take you to the fence. That's it's a positive thing. So England ended up making 393. Joe Root had a really really good innings of 118, I think, which is actually very excellent. And yeah, they declared for 393 at 393 for eight. And yeah, so like you mentioned, we're 14 for none after four overs. So we'll have to see if we can get some batting done. Obviously, the ball's not moving much out there, so you'd hope we'd put up a good total as well. So yeah, it's been a good day of cricket so far, and it'll be really interesting to see the way the rest of the Test match goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, Joe Root, he had a good knock. I don't like him because I'm Australian, obviously, but 118 for 152, not out. You can't deny what an incredible player he is. As for our bowlers, sure, we could have done a bit better, but I think I can live with this, especially if our batters come back. Nathan Lyon, he took 4 wickets, so respect to him. Even he's a bit old now. I think not exactly sure how old he is, but he's 35 now. So even at quite an older age, he's still producing incredible numbers for us. So well done to him. Kept us in the game. We now got our batters in, obviously Warner and Usman Khawaja opening. Warner's hit eight, Khawaja's hit four. So we really haven't gone anywhere in our batting innings yet. That'll happen tonight. So I don't know if we can. Hopefully, we get close to the 393. That'd be good. I do want to try to close England down a bit. So look, it should be a good day two. Then the rest of the tournament. Like I said, pitch really isn't moving much, as kind of always happens when you play at Edgbaston. So it's never really been a pitch that moves a lot. So we'll have to see what happens. But end of the day, I think we're doing well. It's a pretty close game. I think either one could take it from here. And yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Anything else you want to add on this?
Yeah, obviously, like you mentioned, it's going to be an interesting day too. We'll have to see if Australia can chase down the total. You'd hope that they probably could. I think obviously our batsmen, we've got the number one, number two, and number three batsmen right now holding up the top order. So you'd hope we can chase down the total or at least get pretty close. But yeah, it'll definitely be an interesting day of play to come and an interesting Test match to come with the next 4 days coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll probably try to tune into day two tonight. Obviously, Saturday night now, so don't have to be anywhere. I can have a nice, easy day tomorrow if I try to watch a bit of this tonight. So should be good, especially since not much AFL happening with the bye round. So I think cricket is kind of dominating at the minute, which is good to see because I do like when cricket does manage to hit Australia during the winter months. I know there's a lot of people who are just summer-time fans, me included for most of it. But I have watched this series. I watched us play against India, and I watched the Ashes as well. So it's been good so far. But we'll move on now to the AFL, as I mentioned before. We've got two segments today. One of them pretty serious, one of them a bit more light. We'll start off with the more serious topic. Mulligan Pickett has been arrested for, I believe, burglary. So this was announced last week during the Eastern Colin game, and it's just not very good. So we'll try not to get into it too much because obviously there are some legal issues that have to be dealt with. But he has returned to trading and he is expected to play. So what do you think of this? What do you just think of the entire situation, which is pretty rough? And yeah, what happens from here?
Yeah, it's a touchy situation. I think it happened in January during the off season. So the fact that it took this long to come out is pretty interesting. But yeah, he's been granted bail, so I believe he will play. He will be able to play soon. He's not playing this week, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's a tough situation. You obviously, in Australia, it's pretty important that these big athletes act as like role models because kids grow up watching these guys, and it's a very important thing for Australians to for their big stars to usually be very well behaved and to be big role models. So. It's when you see a guy like Marlon Pickett, who he famously made his debut in that grand final 4 years ago. When you see him, go out and make a silly mistake like commit robbery, that's it's not the situation you want to be in. It definitely doesn't do much help for that reputation that Australians want for their athletes. So yeah, it's not a great thing. Hopefully we see him do some change. Hopefully he doesn't do anything stupid again like some athletes do. But yeah, it's definitely not a great situation.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, he had a rough upbringing. He had a rough childhood. I've actually read his book. It's quite a good read. I'd recommend it to a lot of people. But he had a rough upbringing. He's been in jail before, so obviously, look, you'd kind of hope he doesn't make a mistake again. But if he has, it obviously goes to court now. We've got to see what happens. But yeah, we'll have to see. For me, hopefully everything works out for the best. So he is not playing due to personal reasons, as Brendan Gale mentioned earlier this week. Most Yoli comes in for their clash against St Kilda tonight, so should be a good match. Richmond St Kilda, I'll watch that. They should after switch between that and the Ashes, but no, it should be good. And then Richmond have the bye next week, so obviously Marlon Pickett won't play next week either. And then they're back again for round 16 against Brisbane. So that's what maybe 12 days away. So we'll have to see what happens, obviously legally with his situation, then just if he's fit to play and all of that stuff, if he wants to play. So we'll have to see. But either way, they're obviously a very touchy subject. We won't get into it any further. Move on now to our last topic of the day, a bit more lighthearted. It's our first Snag Sport Derby. So Chin is a Carlton fan. I'm an Essendon fan. As I mentioned before, they played each other last week. The Bombers got up with an incredible third quarter. So, what do you think of this, Chin? It wasn't a very good result for your boys, but what do you make of the game?
It's definitely encapsulated what has been a tough slide for Carlton. Of course, hasn't been a great season. Been a tough couple of weeks, especially. So it's definitely not great. Obviously, that third quarter leaves a lot to be desired for Carlton. Obviously, it was pretty cagey in the first half. It was definitely still a tight game, and it definitely had its chances. Definitely felt like both teams still had a crack. But yeah, I think that third quarter really was the nail in the coffin for Carlton, and it's really upsetting because after last season, we had that really good run that almost took us to finals until the very last week. We were definitely at the start of the season in the conversation to, be in finals or win the premiership even. But yeah, it's definitely not a great situation, especially when you consider where people had us at the start of years, what the fans expect from the club. It's not great, and it's definitely not a good situation for Carlton and for us poor unfortunate Blues fans.
Yeah, look, like you mentioned, I think that heartbreaking loss in round 23 to the Pies last year, I reckon that's had an impact on your players. I think mentally, to be in the finals for 22 weeks and then not be there at the end of round 23, mentally that's got to be tough. So, look, they've clearly haven't bounced back. You're sitting at 4-8-1 right now, that draw against Richmond. So it's tough. It's a tough situation. Obviously, you won't have the first pick. It'll be West Coast, obviously, unless North Melbourne kind of collapse. But look, you'll have a pretty high draft pick for next season. So whether you trade that, whether you try to use it to turn it around, I'm sure there'll be a lot of players who do move on. When a team's playing this fair, especially a team with big expectations, you're going to see a lot of players move on. We saw it with Essendon when they got rid of Danaher and signed Fantasia after their disastrous 2020 season. But speaking of Essendon, I was happy with how we played. Yeah, obviously, like I mentioned, third quarter, massive. Zach Merr had probably one of the best games I've seen him play. He didn't have many touches, but every time he got the ball, it was impactful. So shout out to him, our captain. Peter Wright, first came back from a shoulder injury. Didn't look like he missed any. Didn't look like he missed a beat. Kicked 5 goals. Incredible player. Wiedemann did his thing. Up and down back. Ridley played well. You even had guys like like I can't think of anyone, but John Menzies, I thought incredible. He did great. Pressure he put on, he really has stepped up, and he has showed that we can have a good pressure forward because McDonald's, when he's not playing at the moment, he played in the reserves, so it's good we do have someone to take his place. But either way, I was just happy with the Essendon performance, and we're currently sitting sixth with 8 and 5, so we've got the bye this week, so that's not going to change. But either way, I was happy with our performance, and I do think that maybe we can go win a final this year for the first time since 2004. So we'll have to wait and see. But anything else you want to add on this?
Yeah, so Carlton have Gold Coast tomorrow in an early afternoon game at the MCG. So I think that's almost nearly a make or break game, you know. Gold Coast are a up and coming team. They've definitely proved themselves in recent years to be getting close to becoming contenders. So that's definitely a really important game. If we want any chance of, taking anything out of the season, a win here is really important. So yeah, that'll definitely be an important game for the season. I hope the boys can get up. I hope we can inspire something. But yeah, it's gonna be a nervous watch tomorrow, I tell you what.
Yeah, well, I'm actually going to Colton Gold Coast tomorrow. I have kind of jumped on the bandwagon of people in Melbourne going to Gold Coast game, considering their Victorian fan base isn't too strong. So I'm making my Gold Coast Victorian Cheer Squad debut tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. But either way, I will be able to see Colton up close because I didn't actually get. I don't know. I didn't go to the senior game, but I was focusing on Essendon. So we'll actually be able to watch Colton a bit more this time. And yeah, we'll have to see what happens from here and just see if Colton can bounce back with winning against Gold Coast. So that is going to wrap up our podcast this week. Yeah, want to end it?
Yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm not sure what Snag Sport derbies will be coming up. It'll probably be if the Angels and the Blue Jays play each other in MLB. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to continuing this podcast and keeping an eye out for more stories.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I'll end it off. I'm Shezza. He's Tin. Thanks for listening to another podcast. See you guys next time. Bye.